Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Welcome back to Coffee with Craig, coming at you from Washington, D.C. As you guys know, we're here with, I'm here with Phil Watson, our lobbyist from Oregon and Washington, and we're here meeting with members of the Senate and as well as members of the House, or at least their staff, to talk about the Second Amendment here in Washington, D.C. Right now, I'm coming at you from the Russell Senate building, one of three buildings that house members of the U.S. Senate. And once again, we're here going door to door and knocking on doors and talking with folks. But I decided I wanted to take some time out to sit down and say hello, number one, and talk with you guys, and obviously sit down and have a cup of coffee. So hey, let's get into it. But before we do, please remember to take a moment to like and share this video feed. Let your friends become our friends, and let's talk about guns together. Also, make sure subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our Facebook page. Once again, help us all be a part of the same conversation. So let's get into it, shall we? Now, one of the reasons why we're here is some people are saying, well, you need to go there and you need to make sure that they're not doing anything that is going to that is going to hurt us in terms of the Second Amendment. In terms of, you want to make sure that we're adequately, that Congress is basically going to stand their ground when it comes to gun control. And one of the things to note is that we're here more to try and get them to be more positive when it comes to actually advocating for gun rights. Because as we've said before, this is one of the few times where we're going to really have an opportunity we have a Congress and a White House that can make a difference in terms of advancing legislation that actually helps protect and expand our right to keep and bear arms. But a lot of folks are concerned about them introducing gun control, and I guess this actually is kind of fitting. So I wanted to talk about, why is it less likely that Congress is going to actually institute or attempt to pass gun control? All right, and this is stuff that's important for you guys to understand. And now, once again, sharing this information with you doesn't mean that you need to be lax or let up on your elected officials, but it is important for you to know these things, because that way you can make sure that you're it's a good way to just make sure that you are letting them know that you're paying attention. But it's also really good to understand this stuff and understand why they're not, because now we need to take it to the next level. So I have basically here 5 reasons. It kind of came from an article that was on CNN.com, and I'm kind of interesting because I don't always believe everything that you read at CNN, but this was actually a pretty good piece, and I kind of modified it to make it fit us and our understanding of the situation. So let's talk about the 5 reasons why they are not going to pass gun control. Number 1, politicians generally tend not to trust people on the issue of guns. One only needs to look, and by the way, that's on either side, whether you're talking right or left, whether you're talking pro-gun or anti-gun. The fact is that most people don't trust politicians on guns, and quite frankly, that's probably for good reason. What I've generally tend to find is that most politicians, they either don't know guns, they don't know gun policy, and they really don't know or understand how the two intersect. And then on top of it, then you start getting into other things that affect gun policy. For example, law enforcement. Many people think that, well, if you're pro-law enforcement, well, then you're pro-gun. There are times when law enforcement sometimes is on the opposite side. And when I say law enforcement, I'm really talking about the unions, the union bosses, and some of the police chiefs who are from more liberal cities. But really what I'm focusing on here is understanding that we know that politics drive a lot of gun policy, and in many cases it's not always understanding, it's not always accurate knowledge and information, and it's most definitely not always an understanding of civil rights. So it's important for us to make sure that we let them know that we understand and that we're paying attention. So, but once again, people generally tend not to trust politicians because, once again, they generally don't know what they're talking about in many cases. And by the way, that's on either side. I've known Republicans who didn't know. I've known Democrats who didn't know. And it's a shame because in many cases on the Republican side, they think that, well, just because I have an R after my name, well, you must just assume that I am pro-gun. And I've just come to understand that that is just not it's not an assumption that you can make. Okay, so let's talk about number two, item number two, reason number two, why you won't expect gun control from Congress. Well, let's be real. It's a polarizing issue. The nation, first of all, politically is polarized. I think we all can agree on that. We can tell that, probably the nation now is more polarized now than ever before. So we definitely know that this is an issue where it is so polarizing, and in part because it's an emotional issue, but it is so definitely polarizing that you've got people who literally just, are so against guns. They are so anti-gun. Their goal, first of all, is not to ban the AR-15. It's not to ban bump stocks. It's not to make sure that suppressors don't become legal. It's not even to stop concealed carry reciprocity. It's that they just don't want guns. They don't know why. There's no real logic behind it. But people tend to be passionate. And then on the other side, you have people who basically, on our side, people who understand the importance, who understand the value of it, of the Second Amendment as a civil right. They recognize that there is a war on law-abiding citizens, and it's being waged by both the government as well as those who are seeking to do harm to law-abiding citizens, the terrorists, the criminals, the murderers, the mass shooters, the criminally, mentally, I don't want to say insane, but people who are having mental issues. We realize that they are waging a war on law-abiding citizens, on people who want nothing more than to be able to live their lives, prosper, and be able to defend themselves. So we see that all the time. So we understand that it's a polarizing issue. 20% of Democrats believe in the right. It's important to protect the right to keep and bear arms. Only 20%. Yet over 80% Republicans believe that it's important. Well, pro-gun. More gun. California and New York, and they've seen that it really